What's up, guys? I want to start out by just thanking the Patreons. Thank you for support and everything else. But what we got going on today is my review of episode 4, season 3 of The Mandalorian. And you know, there's a couple of cool things that happen here. Now, I'm gonna be perfectly honest. Like if I was being technical or critical, and I was looking at the episode, and I was just looking at it as far as like like technicalities and stuff, like writing, directing, stuff like that. One of the weaker things, especially in this episode, to me, that became very clear is that the writing is not up to par in some cases, and like some problems with the dialogue. So like there's a moment where we have Bo-Katan that comes, she comes off the ship, she tells them like, hey, I followed the monster, so I know like where his lair is, where the nest is. And then we immediately follow that up with her going on the ship and then explaining how she like tracked it. You really just told, you don't, why was that even there? Like that's one of those things that's like you just basically said the same thing twice, like in a row. But yeah, there's just a couple of issues where like some of the dialogue is just kind of like, whatever. It's not great, not good at all. But that's not what this show's for. This show's to watch and have fun with and everything else. So like if I were to grade it as far as like I said, in a critical mind thinking, like this episode may have been like a 6.5, right? Like not very good. But if I grade it for fun, it was pretty fun. Like I do 7.5 and an 8, and a couple of things that I'm going to talk about here in a second that makes it like kind of like that score or whatever. So I do think that, and we've also got the news that the Mandalorian's had some of the lowest viewership that it's had since it started. I think with the first episode or something like that, like the premiere was like super low as far as what it was compared to and everything else. So I do think they need to find like a very great median, you know what I'm saying? Like when it comes to that stuff. And like I said, some people can't turn off their mind. They have to sit there and they have to see all the little flaws or whatever, and they can't just shut off their brain and just have some fun with some action and stuff like that. Because you got the action stuff like that in the series and everything else. There were some really cool Grogu scenes and everything else. Thought those were pretty cool. But one of the biggest things that I want to say that I take out of this episode is because there's not a lot that went on in this episode. There really was just some training scenes with Grogu that I thought was kind of funny and cute, whatever you want to call it, right? Like I always, those things right there were pretty good, no doubt. Like I do have one issue though, is like he fights this other foundling or whatever in this little like training duel or whatever you want to call it, and they're using some darts, and the one kid's like the guy says go, and the one kid shoots him and then shoots him a second time. And then like, so I was like, oh, okay. So like whoever shoots each other first, like the first round. And then like the third round, Grogu like opens it up, does some like cool Jedi maneuvers and stuff like that because he has the Force, and then shoots the dude 3 times in a row after he jumps back and forth around him and stuff, which is kind of cool. But it was like, yo, I don't think they let that one. I don't think the one kid, if the one kid would have did that the first round, he wins because Grogu didn't do anything. So like that, some of the silly things like that right there, I think hurts them a little bit. Like I said, when people watch the show and they're really trying to be critical, or they're really trying to look at it as like with all these other things, and they can't block out the fact that this is Star Wars. It's for like young and old alike, and it's not made to be like the original Star Wars had cheesy moments and cheesy dialogue and everything else. So like it doesn't take me out of Star Wars for that kind of stuff to happen, but I do notice it, right? And when I notice it, I know that other people that aren't like Star Wars fans like me and doesn't maybe truly understand all the stuff, like they may not be able to really understand the nuances of that and everything else. Like I'm cool with Luke kicking a dude in the face and he's like 15 feet away from the guy and everything else. Doesn't bother me. It's Star Wars and it's fun. But like I said, one of the biggest news things that came out for this is on my best, man. Jar Jar Binks, the guy who got hate for the prequels and everything else, it has come around. Fans that came around to On My Best, they like supported him big time and everything else. Like there was times where he had trouble in his life. Like if I'm not mistaken, he tells stories about almost committing suicide and everything else. But he gets the opportunity to come back. He's in the Mandalorian. He actually gets to be a Jedi. You know what I'm saying? Like which is a big difference from being, playing Jar Jar Binks, like a character that a lot of people hate. Now you get to be a Jedi. Not only does he be a Jedi, he's get one of the coolest lightsaber scenes for a Jedi, period, because he actually has two sabers at the same time. You don't see too many people fighting with two sabers in the Star Wars period. You got a lot in the EU, and Old Republic and everything else, like people with double-bladed sabers or the double lightsaber fighting style. You don't get that a lot like in the actual canon Star Wars. But we got that. That was really super cool. He's running around with two lightsabers at the same time, doing his business and everything else. And he's got Grogu. So we find out, because Grogu has a flashback as the armor is making him some armor, that Ahmad's best character is like this Jedi that grabs Grogu, and that's how they escape. And that's how Grogu escapes. And that's how he was able to survive Order 66. But yeah, like the only other thing that came out of this, because it was so short, right? Like you had the big creature take Vizsla's kid and everything else, and they have to go save him. And it was fine stuff, some cool little action moments and stuff like that. But when it comes to all that, but the one thing I am worried about is the season's only like 9 episodes, if I'm not mistaken. This was episode 4. Who's the bad guy? Like literally, who's the bad guy? Like we don't know. Now that could end up being a good thing, right? Maybe it's a big surprise at the end. Maybe we get Thrawn at the end of the series or whatever, and they don't want to show him until the end or the next to last episode, or maybe even just the last episode, and I'd be fine with that if that's what the case is. But if we don't get any story with the bad guy and it's not a big surprise, big reveal, I think it's a big letdown, right? So like, let's just say it's Moff Gideon. Maybe he's working for Thrawn, but we still don't know he's working for Thrawn, and it's just a Moff Gideon bad guy that comes after him again. I think that's a big, huge letdown. We don't know what Moff Gideon's been doing. They haven't showed anything from Moff Gideon's side. The closest thing we got to the bad side was the lady that basically backstabbed the doctor in last episode, which I thought last episode was really good. I thought it was written way better than, say, this episode and everything else. Now, I will say Carl Weathers did direct this episode. That's probably one of the first things he's ever directed. I don't know if he's got a lot of experience directing things and stuff like that. So maybe that was where some of the things were. And it wasn't a super long episode at all. It was like 25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes tops. Which I have no problems with if they do good things and they spend their time wisely. But like I said, this is one of those episodes where you almost could say filler, because they don't do a lot. Like, you get the flashback, you get to see how Grogu was able to escape Order 66, like I said, with all my best as Jedi just out there doing the thing, which was really super cool, right? And that's the thing. That's why I said if I graded it on fun factor, it gets up to like an 8, because there were some fun things to see in this episode. But I am worried, like, what's going on? We have no backstory. We have nothing going on right now. No plot for the bad side at all, period. Like, no reason for us to be worried about anything big bad out there. The second episode where you got like the TIE interceptors and stuff, they did make a mention of, oh, this can't just be like a normal everyday little like group of Empire. This is actually probably run by somebody. It has to be run by something bigger than that. So there's a hint there. So like I said, I don't want to prejudge too hard, because we got to make it a little further. And like I said, if it's being kept secret, if the bad guy is going to be like basically Jaws, like in the Jaws film, right? You don't get to really see the shark until close to the end. And if that's the case, that's fine, but it can't just be Moff Gideon in the end. It's got to be like we get a hint of Thrawn, not just a hint, but maybe even see Thrawn. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if they want to keep all that secret and maybe some Empire shows up and they get in a couple of skirmishes until the last episode, and then the very last, even if it's just the very last scene, we get Thrawn like sitting in his room or sitting in his office, whatever you want to call it, like chilling, and like maybe he says like one line, or maybe he does like something. Maybe he's just chilling, listening to some classical music or whatever in the background. That'd be really cool. Like, I'd be like, all right, cool. So like I'm super fine with them not showing the bad guy in that case, because they were saving him for the end. But like I said, I'm gonna be disappointed if it ends up just being Moff Gideon and we don't have no story of what he's been doing since the last season, like, what he's been getting together or any of that, and we only found that out the last episode of the season. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see how it goes. I'm still pretty high on the series as a whole. I think this season so far might be the weakest out of the 3. But I've enjoyed the first 2 seasons really well. It's just like these like things that I think are happening right now with this season that it's like, okay, let's get to the point. Let's start doing some things. And maybe they'll start doing it. But we only have a few episodes left, like I said, and some of these episodes aren't but like 30 minutes long. So you don't have a lot of time in this season to really do things. So like I said, I am worried about the bad guy setup. Let's see how it goes from the rest of the time. But with that being said, guys, thank you for all your support. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Boom. Hit that notification bell and all that good stuff. Leave some comments, man. Like, tell me how I'm wrong, how like I shouldn't be a little worried about the Mandalorian. Tell me how I should like it even more than what I'm saying in here. And tell me that I'm being stupid for being a little critical for some of the stuff. 100% agree on some of that stuff sometimes, right? Like, don't want people to get out there with them big daddy Twitter fingers all the time and super high. Just, oh, got to go out there and do that. I'm not doing that, but I am saying, I am pointing out some of the flaws that regular viewers may notice and see, and maybe that's some of the reasons why the viewership's going down, because it's like, some people can't just have fun with stuff, with shows or movies. Like, some people can't go watch Cocaine Bear and see it for what it is, right? Like that kind of thing. They got to always be serious all the time and all that stuff. But with that being said, man, I'm out. And until next time, always stay safe. Hey guys, it's Justin, aka Hambone, just here to let you know a couple of things that we have going on with the channel. One, we have a Patreon. If you can and want to support us, you can do that. As little as $1. You can join the Discord. We also have a merch store where you can get some cool shirts, mugs, and stuff with all of our different shows and labels on there. And thank you for all of our supporters that have already been there with us.